Skin tones are some of the most difficult colors to learn how to mix, and in today's demonstration, you will see how to mix dark to medium skin tones. If you'd like more help understanding how to mix a variety of colors, check out the link in the description below for a free color mixing workshop. Now let's get to it. I'm going to start here on the cheek. We'll go for this color first, and then we'll move into the light and we'll move into the shadow and kind of go from there. Looking at this color, this specific color on the cheek is a bit darker and more pink. Some people have more pink in their cheeks and on their nose. It depends on how much blood flow is kind of near your cheek area. And some people have a lot of capillaries there, and we're seeing that coloration, and then some people don't. But I'm gonna still start with red and yellow. But now, because there's pink there, I want more red than I had in the last mixture, just by a little bit. Let's just take a look at the color. So this color is too high in intensity. It's like it's too orange and it's too intense. First, I'm gonna add a little bit of white to start to knock down that intensity. So I'm using the white here in order to make it feel a little bit more gray. Now, when I'm looking at this, it's getting closer, but it's too orange. I think I need to shift the hue, more red, and then also add a little bit more white to take that intensity down some more. So I'm taking down the chroma, all right? So more red to lean it toward pink, and more white to bring down the chroma and get it a little bit more gray. Okay, so this color is getting a little bit closer. I'm gonna, just to make another little variation, I'm continuing with the red and white, but now I'm gonna get just a tad bit of blue in there, just like I did with the orange. How does that work for everybody? Can you kind of see that difference there between this more intense, this is a higher chroma color down here on the bottom of the card, and then there's more of a gray, lower chroma color on the top. The value here is the same. The light and dark is the same, but this one is a lower intensity and this one is a higher intensity. So now let's move into the shadow a little bit. So I'm gonna go right here by the jawline. Once we get down into here, into this really deep shadow, we're almost to black. Like maybe this would be black plus, you know, a little bit of red or a little bit of orange. I'm gonna start with red, add some yellow, and add a little more red because I do want in this shadowy area to keep the value darker. Instead of starting by adding white, I'm gonna start adding black. And it's doing the same thing as the white, right? It's changing the value and it's reducing that chroma and that intensity because this is too intense. It's too high chroma. Okay, so this color is pretty close, right? So the value, how light and dark it is, it looks pretty good. The hue though, it's very subtle, but I feel like the hue on my card is a little tiny bit green. And the hue that I'm seeing here in the photo is maybe a little bit more gray or kind of a little bit more blue or purple. And you could see it in a whole bunch of different ways, right? Like I can see it's a little more purple or a little bit more blue or a little bit more gray. But definitely mine is like too green. And to me, this means I have too much yellow in that mixture. I'm going to add more black and more red or more blue and more red and see if I can get closer to that. Here's some red. And remember, you can use black and blue interchangeably here. And I'm gonna put a little bit of blue in there. So more red, more black or blue, which equals less yellow. So I feel like this is getting closer. So I'm going to do just a little tiny bit more blue and red. And that's much closer. There's a chance this could be just a tiny, tiny bit too dark for this area. So I'm trying to make this so you can see it. See that tiny bit of white on my brush? Sometimes in these dark colors, if you're trying to lighten it just a little bit, literally just the tiniest amount of that titanium white will do it. So you can see it's just like, I know it's hard on the camera to see some of the nuances in these colors, but it is just like ever so slightly lighter and more gray here on that last color. So let's get on to some colors here on the light side because there are so many cool colors on her face. Like when I look at her chin here, I see that that color is a little bit more orange. I think this was her cheek color, right? Yep, there's her cheek color. So yeah, look at that. When we put that color next to her chin, it's like there's more yellowy orange in here. When I look on her forehead in this section, there's some pink, so we're going to go lighter and more pink. And then on this outside edge, there's more yellow again. And then if I look at the very, very edge over here of her cheek, right at the edge, it's kind of close to that original color that we started with, but a bit lighter. So let's try those. This color is too yellow for this particular area of the forehead. From this one mixture, let's make both of these up here. So first I'll go for the yellowish one. I'm going to add white because it needs to be a lighter value. Let's see how that looks. It's pretty close, right? Not too tough on that one. So now for this more pink one, this does need to go more red. And that red, since it's a darker value than this, I'll need to add white also. So just adding the red is probably going to start to make this color a bit too dark in value. So let's see what happens. And yeah, I don't know if you see that. What I'm seeing here, I see in terms of hue, value, chroma, the hue is too orange, like it's still too warm. It needs to go more pink and cooler, almost a little bit more purple. It's like a pinkish purplish color there. The chroma, the intensity of the color, it's too intense, too high of an intense color. So it needs to be grayed down. And the value here is too dark. So it needs to be lightened, right? So we need to change everything about this color. And that sounds like a lot. We need to change the hue and the value and the chroma of this. But since we're working in that neutral area, it is not that big of a space and not that big of a jump. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add white to lighten the value. When I add white to lighten the value, that's already going to take the chroma down. So it's going to reduce that intensity. Then, in order to get it cooler, I'm going to need to use red and blue for that, because this red is going to make it too warm and orangey, and that blue is going to help keep it cool and kind of that purplish pink color. So this is probably the trickiest color today. All right, so white to lighten that value, red to start pulling it more towards pink, and then just a hint of blue. If If you can see it there, see those 2 little dots? 3 little dots on my brush? Just to cool it off a little bit. I'm going to do it again, a little bit more. I think it's not going to be quite right, but we're getting there. It's getting closer. So still lighter and more pink. More red to that. All right, so that's getting closer, but let's do the rose. It's kind of like it already has a little bit of blue at it. And see, it's taken over. I'm going to put it right beside so we can see the difference. There it is. Much closer, much faster. Still probably a little bit too intense for that color. So if I add white, that tones it down. And that's a really good match. That color could work really well on the lips too. But here's some rose mixed with white, just so we can take a little look at it quickly. So here's the rose with white, and it is, in a lot of places, a really good match. But down here on that bottom lip, there's still going to need to be either a little cadmium or a little yellow mixed in, because there are some warmer reds in there.